Yo YouTube, GK's back with another PlayStation versus Xbox video. I have done a few of these in the past. I don't believe there is a console war. Is the war officially over? I'm more interested in why Xbox lost this console war, but I don't really want to sound like I'm hating because I want to bring light and attention to things as gamers so we can all make better decisions and demand more from the companies we support. I've talked about how the Xbox Game Pass is just a big sham and a big lie, and we'll see later on that there are people calling that out now finally for not delivering on the promises. We're gonna look at the sales of the consoles, and this is all to not bash Xbox. It's to talk to the fan base of Xboxes and see their reaction to it, see if they are vocal enough to ask for changes. It is coming from a place of wanting all gamers to get the best they can, even though I know it will come off as hate. Before we get into the video, I'm gonna show two clips from what I've said previously about the Xbox. So if you like the video, please leave a like, as that lets me know I should make more content like this. Enjoy the video. Maybe this will help if the Xbox Game Pass wants to be like Netflix, but I ask you, how long did it take for Netflix to get to the level they're at today? So if you're expecting Xbox Game Pass to come out the gate and be like how Netflix is right now, you're sadly mistaken.
But basically playing the games you're already playing now, I kind of view this as if I was upgrading my video card in a computer.
It's pretty clear what console you should go with if you want to play games, like really good games. If you want to play the latest Call of Duty, yeah, sure, go play Xbox. Who cares? It's the cheaper console, and it's not even full next gen. So yeah, have fun with that. But I don't. Personally, I don't.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.
I'm going to be going into that one Verge article. However, I did pull some headlines in regard to the topic of the console war. PlayStation 5 versus Xbox Series X. PS5 reportedly sold twice as much as its next gen rival. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio on Xbox sold versus PlayStation's sold. That's a huge difference. I know it might not seem like a lot, but double of anything is a shit ton. There are other people who have talked about this 2-to-1 ratio. I believe Spawnwave mentioned it. I'm just saying the news is out there. Believe it if you want, but the fact remains PlayStation 5 has sold almost twice as much. BGR had this article: PS5 is crushing Xbox Series X on the resale market. Again, this leads into the idea that the PS5 is the hotter commodity item. Yes, there are reasons for that, like not having enough copies for people to buy. However, that is also good for the company. Xbox wishes that this were the case for them. I know it might seem shitty for us, but in company respect, this is a great thing. That means the demand is high, people want it, the buzz is going, and no matter how you slice it, it is good press for the PlayStation. And the point of the video is to ask the question, why did this happen? Why has Xbox lost yet again in another console war? That narrative needs to change, and I hope this video helps with that, as well as the previous videos I've made. But Xbox Game Pass can't save Series X's launch. There were people calling out the idea that Xbox Game Pass wasn't that thing, wasn't that end-all be-all to this console war, like many other people and probably some of your favorite YouTubers were saying. But now when you look around, nobody's saying anything about how the PlayStation has won the console war. I find that a little weird. Like I said, this may come off as hate, but hopefully you got the message that I care about the gamers and their experience no matter what they play on. I just have questions about Microsoft's tactics in getting consumers to buy their products. So this was just to prove that I was not the only one saying these things about the Game Pass. But the question is why? And one of the big reasons why, 1 week later, it looks like Microsoft is already breaking a big promise with the Xbox Series X. And this was a week after the launch of the console. So yes, it's a little dated, but the facts still remain and hold true till today. They have broken the biggest promise, in my opinion, that the Xbox Series X was going to offer. This is in regards to the system itself and you not needing to upgrade, as well as the Game Pass not fulfilling the promises it was supposed to. And that promise was to play new games at release. Why are you not talking about how disappointed you are in the fact that Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed are not on the Xbox Game Pass? And that's just to name a few. So I got this next bit of news from the Xbox Game Pass site, or Microsoft, and I want to pay close attention to this statement before we get into the article by The Verge. I'm betting you haven't forgotten our promise to bring Xbox Game Studios games to Xbox Game Pass the same day as they launch, like Age of Empires Definitive Edition, which celebrates the 20th anniversary of the most popular strategy games ever. Pretty sure I mentioned before that it's available today, but it's worth saying again, it's available today. And just a few short weeks later, we're bringing Halo, the Master Chief Collection, to PC for the first time, starting with Halo Reach on December 3rd. Now optimized for PC, there's also an updated bundle for console, which includes Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach. Plus, since it's included with your Xbox Game Pass membership, you can pre-install now so you're ready to play on day one. My question to you, Xbox fans, are those new games from Xbox Studios at release that you were expecting when you first got the news about the Xbox Game Pass? No, they really made it sound like they would have great new games to play at release, and they haven't delivered on that promise at all. Age of Empires is old, Halo is definitely old. Those aren't new games. The catalog PlayStation Now has is not only bigger, but it is more up to date and better than what the Game Pass has currently. But you'll hear this wordage, we have these new games. They're not new games. And I feel like that was misleading to Xbox players, fans. They got hyped about it. They made predictions about how that's gonna save the Xbox. And I just wanna know why they did that to you guys. So let's get into the meat of this video. Let's get into what you'll be playing in December. I talked about in a previous video what you got in November. Control has been added. Control got added literally 2 months after its release on PlayStation Now. I was super surprised. I think obviously sales of games have things to do with that, but I got to play that 2 months after on PlayStation Now, and it was okay, the game itself. But again, that's an old game. Fog's Haven, Slime, Yes Your Grace, Dragon Quest Echoes of an Elusive Age. Again, that's an old game just getting resold and repackaged. Greedfall, which I personally like, Spider Studios. I think their new game looks really dope. It came to PlayStation Now, I think 2 months ago. It's a great game. I definitely suggest checking it out. But again, not new. Skyrim, that is the farthest thing from new. I've said that the Game Pass is going to take time to develop, and it's very clear Xbox Game Pass is years behind where Sony PlayStation Now is currently. And the fact that that isn't pushed or talked about by people propagating narratives just goes to show that Microsoft is behind and they don't care about the games or fulfilling the promises that they made about their system. Why is the PlayStation 5 outperforming the world's most powerful console? Early game comparisons show the PS5 outperforming the Xbox Series X by Tom Warren November 25th, so it is a little dated. The facts and points still remain. So just to recap, we talked about how the PlayStation is sold double. We've talked about how the resale value is just insane. The demand is super high for the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox Series X. We talked about the Game Pass, promises made and broken. All of those things contribute to the failure of the Xbox Series X to beat the PlayStation 5. And this isn't too dissimilar to the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. The PlayStation 3 was the more powerful console, but like I've said in past videos, the PlayStation 3 outsold the Xbox 360. Now the Xbox Series X has the more powerful console, but still can't win. Microsoft has been proudly discussing how powerful its Xbox Series X console is for months now, but in practice, early game tests show the PlayStation 5 outperforming Microsoft's console. While the Xbox Series X takes a slight lead in 4K and ray tracing performance modes on Devil May Cry 5, the high frame rate mode runs noticeably better on the PlayStation 5, with frame rate gaps between the two systems at more than 40 FPS in some scenes. The dips look really strange to me, and it kind of suggests to me some kind of API limitation on the Xbox side, where the GPU is being held back by something, suggests Digital Foundry editor Richard Ledbetter. We're talking about the Series X. We're not talking about the Series S here, because we know that the Series S is not as powerful as the PlayStation in any capacity. And I will say that it is still very early, but it's about the games and how they run and how they play. Elsewhere, Microsoft has a marketing deal for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was not on the Game Pass, so that every time you see it promoted in a TV ad, it'll appear alongside next-gen Xbox consoles. You'd expect Xbox Series X would be the best place to play this new game on console, but the PS5 outperforms again. Digital Foundry found that the Xbox Series X version of Valhalla includes a lot of screen tearing and regular dips below 60 frames per second. So the premier game that the Xbox Series X was trying to push was Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is not an exclusive, was also on the PlayStation 5. At the very least, the PlayStation did have exclusives. So again, this is another kind of reason as to how Xbox is failing to win the console war. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which is not on the Xbox Game Pass, also demonstrates the difference between these consoles. It shows an advantage for Xbox Series X in ray tracing performance, but Microsoft console falls behind in the 120 FPS mode, which 120 FPS mode is what these systems were kind of marketing towards. The 120 FPS mode is kind of to which the bar these consoles are being judged in delivering that. The reason for this, and this is more so a why video, Microsoft only allowed developers to submit games for Xbox Series X certification in June, after delivering an update to its game developers kit that followed the company's rather tight schedule for dev kit allocations. All the while, I've been consistently hearing that many developers had access to PS5 dev kits far in advance of Xbox versions. Unfortunately, I am someone who believes that Xbox does not care about the games, so they wouldn't allow game developers to get their kit at a reasonable time to maybe have them make good AAA games. The PlayStation 5 got their shit out early, got the kits to people, and they were able to make exclusive titles, and if not exclusive, at least have the games run at that 120 FPS threshold. We could say this and that and provide an excuse for Xbox for not allowing people to get the dev kit, but that's on Xbox. That's not on anybody else. So we can't make excuses for the poor performance of the console. Ultimately, it's the games that matter, which is 100% true. It's always been about the games. And Microsoft's launch lineup has relied heavily on its third-party games that aren't backing up its performance claims. If you're going to have the more powerful console, you would have one game that can meet the qualifications and specifications of your system, and they didn't have that, and still don't today. The Xbox Series X has been great at backwards compatibility, accessibility, and accessory support, but Microsoft still needs to deliver more games from its Xbox Game Studios to really show the power of the console. I am of the opinion that I could give two shits if it's backwards compatibility, because I want to play new games. I don't want to play a bunch of old games. I never want to play a bunch of old games, especially when a new console drops. I want to play the new shit. There's plenty of time to go back and play old games, and if anything, it would be way better for companies to do a remaster of their old game to work better on the new console than just to slot in an old game. That's just my opinion, but hey, congrats for being able to play a bunch of old games. So I know the video was kind of long and kind of scattered because I didn't know how to approach it. Hopefully you understood the frame story is that the PlayStation 5 has won the console war. I understand the narrative, but as Xbox fans, I want y'all to speak up and speak out against what's going on. Don't be happy with just taking second-rate bullshit, because you'll end up with a situation just like with the Xbox One. That is a trash console that will go down in history as being one of the biggest failures of Xbox. And if y'all don't get that together, the Series X and S, and then in 2 years when they release the Series X1 and the S2, they will just ask you for some more money, and you still will be left with nothing to play. I know I talk a lot, I might have rambled. I really tried not to rant. I'm the grown kid, and I catch you back in another video.